Hello and welcome to the first of Media 7's summer season programs, where we'll change the pace and get out and about some more. This week we're at West Auckland's Artisan Winery. There's still, however, a news mash, and it seems that for some Americans there is no challenge so daunting that they can't consume their way out of it. The newscasters sounded the clarion.
Here at the Mall of America, 20 shopping days till Christmas and 30% off and 40 and 50.
Consumer Reports says that more Americans plan to hit the malls on Black Friday just hours after their Thanksgiving dinner.
Black Friday is in full swing.
Some stores are just hours away from opening with what could be some of the best deals in years.
And plucky citizen journalists brought their cameras and their phones to capture the fury of battle at Walmart stores the length and breadth of the land, even when they didn't know what they were fighting for. These guys caught the pivotal moments outside a New York store.
Yo, we out here at Walmart, 5 o'clock in the morning. Yo, niggas just literally took off the door.
Tragically, a Walmart employee trying to stem that flow became a victim of retail madness, trampled underfoot. That wasn't the only trampling.
The mad dash into a Walmart store knocked shoppers to the ground near Grand Rapids, Michigan at 5 in the morning. Despite several people falling to the ground, shoppers charged ahead, fixated on doorbuster deals.
What happened inside was like totally savages.
And after a double shooting at Toys R Us, the holiday retail death toll stood at 3. The networks wondered how it could have happened.
Watching that cell phone tape and thinking of him, oh my goodness, it's sad.
Yes, that really was the same network that spent the previous week airing the likes of this.
If it's on your list and you see a good deal now, you know that because you price comparison shopped, I'd grab it because they're managing inventory so closely you could get shut out.
What this guy says.
This is what the freaking Christmas spirit's all about. If this is what it's about, count me freaking out.
I'm joined now by Trish Carter, the founding chief of Al Jazeera's Asia Bureau, and Colin Peacock, the host of Radio New Zealand's Media Watch program. Welcome to you both. Thanks for joining us out here.
Christmas.
Now, that was a bizarre series of stories, you know, the shopocalypse, they're calling it. But it's kind of been a year in which the economy has just kept coughing up bizarre stories.
Yeah, and I think that the media and the way it reports that can actually influence, consumer behaviour. I mean, that was a pretty extreme example of some of them we've seen there. But I think it happened here. If you think back to the middle of the year, and we were seeing things like the oil price skyrocketing, and I remember an item on One News, people buying bikes in Christchurch, and people saying, look, the price is never coming down, now's the time, I'm going to do it. And they're getting that from the media. And I mean, that's a good thing if people go out and buy a bike, in my opinion, but what they weren't doing was telling us speculators are driving the price up, and look where we are now. It's come way back down.
Yeah,
and
why did we get blindsided by this?
Well, Russell, I don't think we should knock recession shopping too much. Can I say that for a start? I also think the economic crisis has saved Gordon Brown's bacon this year, and he'll be having an extra dram, I think, over the Christmas break. I found the whole economic crisis thing quite confused. I mean, you and I well know that the whole subprime crisis was reported online far more than it got to New Zealand before the New Zealand media began to pick it up. Then, of course, it seems to me that we've had a lot of confused commentary, a lot of confused media outlets saying lots of different things. And I think that has led to quite a difficult, confused picture for consumers.
Well, indeed. And we've had stories saying we're out of the recession. It's going to be slow, but we're fine.
Oil's up, oil's down.
And then you had Bruce Shepherd from the Shareholders Association saying it's going to be 12 years before we're back to normal. It is really difficult to get a handle on, isn't it?
I think it is particularly difficult. I think it's also spawned some interesting people. All of a sudden, Bernard Hickey, he was probably around.
It's been Bernard Hickey's year, hasn't it?
Look, it absolutely
has. He was depicted as the Cassandra, and he turned out to be at least partially right.
One thing I'd like to see less in 2009 is this obsession about the property market. I know that editors think that if they put property market on the front pages of their magazines and of their newspapers, it will sell, and probably it does. But frankly, I'm sick of it. It tells me nothing new.
I wonder also if some of the major media organisations that do business here haven't been terribly good about telling us about their own financial troubles. We've seen David Kirk depart Fairfax, having lost 2/3 of its market value in the past year. APN, we don't know what's going to happen there. I think if there's an underreported business story, it's the media themselves.
I think that's right. Although I would say, obviously with those, say, newspapers, both the companies headquartered in Australia that run the bulk of our papers, over there it has been reported a lot better. And you've got both online and, in the traditional media. Of course, the Australian newspaper, for instance, has a very strong media section. They like to look at what their rivals are doing. Plenty about Fairfax there, less so here. But no, it's a big question in the coming year. APN is up for sale, which is the Herald and a number of other papers and magazines.
I actually thought it was interesting what the Australian had to say about David Kirk, about Fairfax executives. They weren't newspaper men, they didn't have ink flowing through their veins, unlike our owner. I mean, are we ready, Trish, do you think, for Murdoch to come in and potentially own the Listener?
No. I don't think that we are, but I think nothing would surprise me now in terms of media, and I think that we should be ready for anything, because it's all now about the bottom line. It has been for some time, and that's the way it is. It's going to be a tough media year again for media companies next year, with increasing online, influence happening, margins down. I also sense a blurring of the line between advertorial and editorial. I think there's been a little bit more of that this year, particularly in relation to the economic crisis and particularly in relation to property boom. We all know that some of the real estate people, for example, have been putting pressure on some of those media outlets, concerned about the level of coverage. And the other phrase that I've heard a lot more of in the past 2 or 3 weeks is doom and gloom, and an apology, particularly on radio, it seems to me. It's doom and gloom this morning. We're very sorry that we're not bringing you more positive news. Well, the media don't do that when they give me the quota of murders for the weekend. So I think I'm grown up enough.
Yeah, the crime stories never go away. But this was also the year of hope, surely. It was the year of the 2 elections, and especially the one in America. It seemed that it wasn't possible to report Obama as anything but some kind of redemption. It had to be a good news story, didn't it?
Well, again,
there was no easy way of doing it any other way.
I think, hope and change, those 2 big words, and of course, they were echoed in their own campaign. They're a very weird thing of having those 2 elections so close. I mean, and those, set pieces, those 2 events are all year long. News organisations here in the States, they would have had those in their diaries, and knowing they'd be scrutinised heavily by the public, by the politicians, and by media critics as well, But the sheer volume of it, the whole Obama-Clinton thing went on all year, the Democratic selection. And then, of course, the election itself. And I wondered, just viewing it from here, the American election, how, we seem to be getting a series of sidebars in our papers, the stuff that was obsessive about the political strategy. And yet I ended up with no clear notion of whether Clinton or Obama would be a different front runner for that ticket, or even McCain. But I wasn't clear about many of the things that separated them and what it might mean for the States or for the world or for us.
Well, thank God for Sarah Palin. Enter stage left, along she came, and just when your interest was beginning to wane and you were thinking, gosh, can we now get over this? Sarah came along, and love her or hate her, she brought, in actual fact, great interest.
Well, she was a celebrity candidate. It was like a reality show, wasn't it?
But doesn't that illustrate the point? In a way, it's about her selection was a political strategy and not much more. It wasn't for any real strong policy points. And again, I just was left not really knowing or understanding after months and months and months of coverage. Maybe I got fatigued and didn't bother to look hard enough, but I just wasn't sure how America or the world would change with either of those 2 guys in charge as it ended up.
4 strong personalities, though, don't you think? I can't recall in recent times having such strong personalities on that campaign. Obama, Palin, Clinton, McCain, fantastic personalities to be able to build something around.
And also I think with Obama, he was someone who looked so beautiful on screen. So actually commanded that media.
He's not bad looking.
But didn't that sway the media? I mean,
absolutely,
the coverage of it. I mean, all that, when you, again, it's hearing it in sound bites. When you heard his whole length speeches, I began to understand why people called him such a fantastic orator. When you get the sound bites in the news, watching 1 or 3 news in the evening and a short report, and then, it looks awfully corny.
Well, exactly. And then we got John Key's speech making, which was always going to struggle in comparison, wasn't it?
I guess, yeah. I mean, again, the volume of coverage was the thing about this election. There's so many programs that someone told me at one point. I was trying to get across as much of it I could for Media Watch, but someone told me at one point that Bruce Russell overnight on News Talk ZB was having politicians on, and Chris Carter had gone in and done the 12 till 2 slot, 12 midnight till 2 in the morning. Just thinking, how can you possibly get across all this coverage all the time? And of course there was online and everything else which increased in volume from 3 years ago.
We'll talk a bit more about our own election in the media after the break, I think.